Hello and welcome to today's webinar, IT Operations Management and Your Move to Azure. Today's event is brought to you by Solarwinds and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is David Davis of Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator for today's event. Now, before we get started, let's just do a little bit of housekeeping and review the agenda here of the flow for today's event. So first off, I'll be introducing you to our presenters here in just a moment. We've got a great presentation lined up for you today. We have an awesome demo. I love these demo-focused events, so you're going to get to see how these products work in action. We're going to have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the event, and we've got a few poll questions sprinkled throughout the event, so we appreciate your participation in that. We do want you to we want this to be an educational event, so we encourage you to use the GoToWebinar questions box there as much as you'd like to ask as many questions as come to mind throughout the event. Don't hesitate, ask them, get them in early, and we'll be taking the best questions during the Q&A session at the end of the event. Now, Actual Tech Media will also be awarding an Amazon $300 gift card to one lucky attendee on today's live event. If you're watching this event on demand, I'm sorry, the drawing has already occurred. Full price terms and conditions can be found at events.actualtechmedia.com. Again, my name is David Davis of Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to introduce you to today's presenters. They are Sasha Dawes, Senior Director of Product Marketing at Solarwinds, and Mr. Jared Hensel, Senior Product Marketing Manager, also at Solarwinds. Sasha, Jared, thank you for being on the event today.
Thanks for having us. Thanks, David. I appreciate everybody joining us for today's call. Obviously, David said we'll take the best questions, but we'll take all questions too. So please feel free to submit those questions in there, and we'll get them toward the end.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, it's always fun doing an event with any of the experts at SolarWinds. I know you guys always make it really a lot of fun. And honestly, I've been impressed with the breadth of your expertise across all these events that we've done together. So this is going to be another fun one. All right. Yeah, so before we jump into today's topic, I wanted to just briefly do a little bit of level setting here, when it comes to the state of the cloud and the state of IT operations management. And to do that, to help you visualize that, I've got a few numbers here on the screen. The first one is 183 billion, and that's the size of the public cloud market as of 2018. And I'm sure we'll be getting 2019 numbers here soon. But this has been tracked since 2011, and it's grown 4.5 times faster than the overall IT industry as a whole. So this public cloud market and adoption, it grew 27% just between 2017 and 2018. And there's even larger growth expected, this year. So we have a rapidly, massively growing public cloud market represented by 183 billion. The second number there is 24%. And this is how much more companies said they plan to spend on public cloud in 2019 than they did in 2018. And this was in the RightScale 2019 State of the Cloud report. So just this year alone, they plan to increase spending by almost another 25%. And that report also found that 13% of companies out there spent more than $12 million a year on public cloud. So some really incredible numbers. Just a few more numbers, and that is, the next one is 52%. That's the adoption rate of Azure just during the last year. That's of the companies that were polled in the RightScale report. 52% said that they had plans to adopt Azure, or they were already adopting Azure. And then another important data point is, according to Gartner, greater than 50% of companies out there polled said they've experienced issues with IT monitoring in the last year. So IT monitoring, whether your applications are running on premises or in the public cloud, IT monitoring and operations management is a real struggle for a lot of companies out there. And then finally, 53% of the THWACK community members surveyed said that they'd choose Azure as their top cloud provider. So Azure is definitely gaining in popularity, and it's the #1 choice by 53% of the community members out there. So some very impressive statistics all around public cloud. I mean, to me, what these numbers tell us, at least in my opinion, is that one, the cloud is rapidly being adopted. Public cloud and hybrid cloud configurations. Azure is one of the top options out there when selecting a public cloud. And then third, we need to know what's happening in our cloud, whether, no matter what cloud we're running in, we need to know what's happening. We need to be prepared, and we need a really innovative monitoring and management solution to help us do that. And thankfully, the folks from SolarWinds are here to help educate us all about IT operations management, and especially around public cloud. So here's what you're going to be learning today. I mean, first off, you'll find out about the IT operations management challenges that I know many companies like yourselves are facing when performing cloud migration. When we move to the public cloud, we have to monitor what's going on just as we do on premises, but it can be a challenge in such a new environment that most of us have never administered before. Second, you'll learn how SolarWinds Server and Application Monitor can monitor your infrastructure and mission critical applications. You'll find how to monitor cross-platform database performance with the Database Performance Analyzer, and you'll learn how you can simplify your journey to Microsoft Azure. So we've got some cool demos lined up for you today. Before we jump into that, I've got a poll question that I'm just going to bring up now, and that is on the screen. It says, where are you on Azure adoption? And check which box reflects your situation. So perhaps you're currently using Azure. Perhaps you plan to use Azure in the next 6 months. Perhaps you plan on using Azure, but you're not sure the timing, or none of the above. So this is specifically on Azure adoption. And I'm curious to see the results of this poll. Obviously, the THWACK community said they were rapidly planning to adopt Azure. But what about the attendees on today's event? All right, I see some responses coming in. Thank you for those. I'm going to share the results of this, and you can see how you stack up with your peers who are on today's event. All right, looks like we got a lot of responses. Let me share the results of the poll. And it says that 40% on the event today currently use Azure, 11% plan to use it in the next 6 months, 31% said they plan to adopt Azure, but they're not sure the timing, and 23% said none of the above. Sasha, Jared, what do you think about the results on this poll?
I think that's pretty accurate. I think if we even, while not quite Azure, if we expanded it to Office 365, I think that's kind of everybody's first step into cloud for email purposes. But yeah, that probably tracks about what, a little bit less than what I would expect, but not crazy. And honestly, you ask somebody the same question in 6 months, and that could look completely different the way cloud is evolving and people are shifting workloads.
Yeah, what I'd say is that, and we hear this from Microsoft as well, as we are a Microsoft partner and have good relationships with some of their cloud security or cloud advocates. But very much today is we're seeing this with regards to the growth of Azure, is really the mainstream is starting to adopt and really move into public cloud. So the fact that 40% of the folks on this call are actually using it today is obviously fantastic. But I think that in the sense that the second majority was focused on, hey, I'm starting to use it, but I'm not sure, thinking about it, but I'm not sure the timing. That really speaks to the desire to really get to know it better. And we see that in some of the challenges that we get to in some of the upcoming slides, just to talk about some of the concerns that a lot of organizations have. Definitely, we've seen more and more organizations, small, medium, and large, move into public cloud. And I think that momentum itself is what's driving this mainstream moving into public cloud today. So, a good mix of data and responses. So, but pretty much in alignment with where we might expect.
Excellent. All right. Well, with that, I'll hand it over to you, Sasha.
Great. Well, in fact, yeah. So the first thing is what is driving public cloud growth, and so one of the terms that I think probably a little overused today, but digital transformation. Very much, public cloud and cloud resources were some of those things that people started to leverage. I'd say probably about even 5 to 10 years ago, huge rush where CIOs and organizations were saying, hey, we need to start using the cloud. We need to start using the public cloud. We want to change the way that we pay for IT resources. And so definitely a lot of adoption and move to SaaS delivered services. Sometimes organizations don't even know they're using SaaS, especially with some of the finance apps, ADP, for example. And then obviously, Jared mentioned Office 365, huge adoption there, but also leveraging now cloud infrastructure, things like Azure and AWS. And obviously, we're talking a lot about what we can do with Azure today, but our solutions extend into the AWS environments as well. But we're seeing a lot more organizations spin up new assets, web services, doing dev test in the cloud. And so those are some of the workloads that are really still very popular. A lot more people are starting to move their databases and their data up into the cloud as well. So really a huge evolution and expansion of the amount of storage being leveraged in public cloud environments. And also, I mentioned DevOps, dev test, agile development as well, because effectively it's unlimited capacity that is available to you, providing, of course, you're willing to pay for it. Some people have certainly had some shocking moments later on down the road when they've forgotten to turn off a number of VMs, or they spun up resources without thinking about how much it's going to cost at the end of the day. So that's definitely a top area of focus for many. But you can kind of see from this chart just the investment or growth in on-premises and private cloud has certainly slowed. It hasn't stopped because still organizations are trying to figure out how to virtualize as much as possible, because it leads to more efficient usage of your on-premises or hosted resources. But clearly, public cloud, you can see 10% growth year over year. It's really pushing through and evolving. When you threw some of the statistics up at the beginning, David, it's really understanding and seeing that in effect.
I think it goes back to also that people in IT just want to work on what they need to work on and not worry about the underlying infrastructure, the underlying operating system. It just cuts right to the chase, and there's not all that provisioning. It is one of those, hey, I can be doing whatever project I want to be working on in a matter of minutes, as opposed to a matter of weeks of provisioning and authorizing and POCing and all that stuff.
Yeah. Interestingly, again, David referenced the Right Scale report. It's a pretty extensive report, so I certainly recommend it if you're investigating the space to see how people are using and leveraging cloud. And we'll come through some of our own results in just a few. But I think the key thing about this particular slide is the number or percentage of respondents that came back saying they had intermediate to advanced maturity or cloud maturity, both across enterprise and SMB. So, 63% came back saying, hey, we've got applications running and or we're using it in a heavy use concept. But, more and more, and again, year over year, we're seeing more people playing around, learning how they can leverage the public cloud and actually start to move to cloud and public cloud resources. But again, what was really the domain of what many thought was the enterprise a few years back is now really the domain of anyone who wishes to start leveraging that public cloud or cloud infrastructure. And especially ISVs, developers, and as I said, dev test, regardless of the size of the environment, or just being able to leverage that cloud capacity. And in some cases, more organizations are saying, how can I put more on an operational expenditure rather than having to procure my own hardware on premises and run it that way. It's not a silver bullet for every workload for sure, but again, this is more part of the experimentation, part of the learning experience. As people get to use cloud more and more, they really start to understand within what parameters they want to operate. This is just a quick snapshot. I guess a couple of months or a month ago in terms of September, so it's a couple of months back. But this year, and it just highlights some of the press articles out there about who is using Microsoft Azure in particular. So we're all pretty familiar because it's still going on in the news about Microsoft being awarded the
Jedi.
Yeah, Jedi, the U.S. government contract.
Star Wars in it.
Oh, right, yeah. So failure on my part, even though I did watch it this weekend. But you can see again some medium-sized companies. So the British Heart Foundation, the fact that we have the Pentagon and JEDI, we have other large and small deals. I mean, Microsoft publishes, especially large deals. But as you saw from the previous slide, there's a lot of small to medium businesses leveraging this as well. And the fact is that worldwide, Azure and Microsoft, Microsoft's made huge investment in Azure to make sure that it's available in many regions across the world to address things like data sovereignty. And other operating characteristics like that, and making sure that there's a local region to its customers. And of course, we're there to help support the monitoring of those environments. Just to build this out, and again, Dave talked about many of these things, but really this covers some of those key statistics as to the fact that 91% of organizations are using public cloud today. And in fact, AWS is still the market leader, but Google and especially Microsoft are really catching up. And in fact, today, and I think this is reflected by the survey results at the beginning, it was really a case of, it's the highest or the most likely cloud that organizations will gravitate to if they're just starting their public cloud journey. And David also mentioned the fact that the THWACK community, so THWACK is a SolarWinds community of, hundreds of, in fact, I think about 180,000 plus members today, and we do surveys with them quite frequently. And we ran one earlier this year to say, how many of you are actually using Azure? And, obviously 13 points different from what we saw today, but 53% of that member base came back saying, hey, we are using Azure in some capacity today. So again, just reflective of the fact that it's definitely a key destination. And in terms of the problems that you yourselves and others are out there really facing, frankly, I've not seen a great deal of change over the past 10 years, and it's not increasingly so. It's the fact that you've got increased IT complexity. It's the fact that you want to get better insights into how things are performing, what is the overall security. There's been some significant concerns, not so much about performance, because Microsoft takes care of making sure that the platform is available. You're still responsible for the performance of any applications sitting on top of the platform and the security of it, but how do you get that visibility into it? And there's been a lot of concerns about security in general, but again, becoming familiar with the controls and the capabilities of what Azure offers or any public cloud offers is certainly a bit of a learning game. And that maps back into that third bullet point, so IT staff skills gap. Because again, these environments have evolved very rapidly. New controls come into place, but even today, you see organizations, Facebook had an issue not long ago where, someone managed to change something and took some of their servers down. But again, you've also heard about people misconfiguring, let's say, storage on public cloud and allowing anyone to gain access to the data within that storage bucket. Again, it's about familiarity and confidence, and driving that skill set and confidence in order to know about the controls that are available and to make sure that they're set correctly. But at the same time, going back to that first or second bullet point, hey, is it set correctly? How can I get visibility into what's going on?
And I personally think also the audience that knows what's going on is expanded when you go to the cloud. Either you have consumers that are trying to consume services and you've had things open or down. Even your internal accounting department. I never got called really into accounting as an IT professional when you're buying servers from Dell or HP, but when some outrageous cloud bill rolls in, okay, you're now talking to accounting on why this is crazy. So I think there's just more visibility into if you do screw up and that you do need to, cross T's and dot I's, for those new configuration controls.
Yeah, and some of this maps back into the regulation and compliance space, because again, shadow IT, we're all familiar with that term. It's where organizations or teams within an organization, hey, you just need to put down a credit card. You can have instant access, near instant access to spinning up a server and so on and so forth. Now, obviously, having the expense thing down the road is one thing, but then if I'm that shadow IT person and I start to put corporate data and information into this environment, my organization doesn't necessarily have visibility into what's going on, the regular controls and policy. I mean, I'm not protected by the security perimeter and internal controls that the organization has set up, because now I'm running, assets and data in a third-party environment. So this has become a very big concern. And in fact, that's where we're seeing a lot more organizations start to, have better conversations internally to make sure that, just even from a 24/7 availability of performance as well as security, that there's capabilities, that can be applied.
Absolutely. I mean, because if somebody spins something up and you're not aware of it, before you know it, it's now somehow in production, and it doesn't meet any type of configuration standards, doesn't, hey, I just was using a trial version of this. Well, now, on the IT side, you're sitting there, okay, how am I going to support this? How am I going to license this? How am I going to secure this? All while it's actually doing an actual function that has, next to zero downtime or anything along those lines.
Yeah. So a couple of things that aren't mentioned in here is really, so Network World did a survey earlier this year, March 2019. In fact, if anyone's interested, look it up. It's called Cloud Monitoring Management Tools Come Up Short. And they surveyed IT pros, and 35% of those IT pros came back saying that their current monitoring and management vendors have done a poor job of adding cloud monitoring support to their tools, and 28% report that vendors have no roadmap for such capabilities. What does that proliferate? Well, it proliferates the using new and procuring additional tools, and so it's a bit of a kind of a cyclical effect. So you get more tools, you get that visibility into performance and security, but then you have to obviously pay for those tools. You have to have folks trained up on those tools. You may in fact need to increase your number of staff to be able to monitor and manage all these different capabilities, let alone do any integration that you want to do. So that's just a key thing that many of our customers come up with as well. And that's really where Solarwinds has been focusing, because originally we started off as an on-premises IT monitoring vendor, but we've actually been extending our capabilities out into both hosted and public cloud environments. So I mentioned earlier on today that we have support for monitoring assets on AWS and on top of Azure, and this is really what this view shows. So application management, application performance monitoring, and database performance. We'll show those with SAM and DPA. Jared's going to show you some of those capabilities in just a few moments. But extend that monitoring so that no matter where your applications are hosted, and not just the applications, but the actual infrastructure on which those applications are hosted. So especially in the IaaS and the PaaS arena, then many applications are going to depend either on a Linux box or a Windows box if it's a virtual machine. It may be with a container, or it may be leveraging some of the PaaS services as well. And so really, that's all encapsulated in that application management row. Infrastructure management, again, extending the capabilities for monitoring servers, whether they're on-premises hosted or in a public cloud as well. And then we have storage and network management capabilities that, again, by storage, we're not referring to like a storage bucket on AWS. We're referring to the big storage mechanisms that you may put in the storage array on-premises, and some of our network management capabilities really extending out. That's all about being able to monitor those environments, but we also have the capability to manage those environments with IT service management and desktop capabilities and security and compliance management tools. We have all these capabilities to help you monitor, manage, and secure environments. We're just going to focus on that top box, the application and obviously cloud infrastructure management for this conversation today. But if you're interested and open to exploring, then we can certainly share more information with you if you want to go to our website or attend one of our other webcasts or working with Agile Tech Media. In fact, the brief that's available for you to download will cover that diagram. It'll also cover a number of the products that are also available to you or that we have available to you as part of our portfolio. Just to touch on very quickly, so we've recently certified all our Orion products and modules, including DPA, for deployment out onto Microsoft Azure. So if you want to test out some of our products and capabilities, you can certainly go off to the Azure Marketplace and deploy a trial of our product or any of our products. The advantage of that, of course, is that if you don't have any available hardware on premises, you'll be able to leverage the Azure infrastructure. When it deploys, you will deploy it actually into a trial version of our product, and then we can have a conversation with you later on in terms of procuring a license for that. But when you go ahead and deploy it, it's all certified and works on Azure, but can be up and running in as little as 30 minutes. This chart, again, this is available in the download. I just wanted to touch on this. You can see on the orange boxes, these are all products that are part of the Orion platform and DPA as well, but you can actually deploy these. So there's 15 in total that you can deploy through the Azure Marketplace, or you can actually download them from our website and actually deploy them on premises as well. We have some SaaS solutions out there, but you can get more information from that download. Jared, do you want to take us through the product slides?
Yeah. So the first product we're going to talk about today is Server and Application Monitor. Traditionally, this was an on-premise agentless monitoring solution, but over the last couple of years, we have added agent ability. We have added the ability for this to be hosted in the cloud. We've added the ability to monitor cloud with this. So really, this is a robust system to pull in all your application, your operating systems. And when I mean application, I'm talking your standard commercial off-the-shelf applications. We do have the ability to monitor some custom services, but we're talking more commercial, Windows, Linux, Apache, SharePoint, Exchange, those type of things. And it'll also pull in the infrastructure, your Dell, your HP, your standard IBM, Nutanix, and all link that together. And as Sasha was saying, we've now scaled this out to Amazon and Azure. So what we can then do is bring in the actual instance or virtual machine, depending on the vernacular of your cloud provider, and then the storage associated with that. And so again, we are showing you that information in relationship to your application. So again, you do have to, how you look at it is up to you. Again, if you have a machine on premises, you probably do want CPU to be low. If you have a machine in the cloud, you probably want CPU to be a little bit higher than you would like to get better bang for your buck. But again, that is your call on how you want to do it, but we're going to present that data for you and show you when things kind of go a little awry. The other product that we're talking about is Database Performance Analyzer. So this product, again, can be run on premises or it can be run in the cloud, and it too can monitor cloud, SQL instances, things along those lines. It also has monitoring for MySQL, MariaDB, all these other database, a number of different databases. The cool thing about this product is, unlike even from Sam's point of view, we're actually going to look inside the database now and start giving you query level analysis, saying this query is running long, and let you get into snippets of the code, things along those lines. This product is a little exciting because we do have machine learning in here, where we will look at basically anomaly detection, where we look at a set of queries over time, and we will make predictions saying, hey, this should take 5 seconds, 500 seconds, 2 seconds. And if things don't look right, we will alert you saying, hey, it may be running fine. You may not know a performance degradation, but this is actually running not as expected. So that it'd be like, hey, I've got a SQL backup or a GL report that runs on Friday afternoon. SQL statements are going to be a little bit high. This is going to let you know, hey, this is normal. It's even going to let you know, hey, this is lower than normal. Something should have run, things along those lines. So really, this does give you the powerful ability to monitor and manage the back end of applications. So with all that said, let's get to the demo. We will have a link later on that the demo, once we toggle over to it, it is publicly available at demo.solarwinds.com. So we are using the public demo, so you can totally do this along at your house and see all these, the drop downs, the configuration, anything along these lines. So again, I came in here, this is the Orion platform, and so we just started right at the application summary and with the SAM summary. Again, so what we're doing is, by default, we're going to show you all your applications. We're going to roll it up to applications because we know end users are going to submit a ticket. End users are going to talk to you in the hallway saying, hey, email is slow. I think Exchange Server 4 has dismounted its database or something crazy like that. So we're going to, even if you can get email out of them. So what we do is summarize all of the applications in here, and you can just start drilling into these and start seeing what's going on. The nice thing about, or I guess one of the features of SAM is this application map. So I'm going to come over here and open this up. So what this is doing is showing you the infrastructure as well as your application. So I can come in here and I can actually, it started as an Exchange server. So I actually can see the infrastructure underneath it. So I can see it's a Hyper-V machine, it's in this cluster, and any of these things are clickable. I can click and drill into this for more details. I can see the storage, and I actually can get all the way back. Obviously, this is with the addition of our storage resource monitor. I can actually get all the way back into the pure array. So again, I can show all that application dependencies in this screen, and it's auto built out for me. But I can see that Exchange is talking to other Exchange servers, and I can too see their dependencies all the way up. In this particular case, these are running on VMware, and I can see all the way up through VMware. These lines in the middle, I don't want to say this mess right here, but these are the application connections. So, part of the thing that we've talked with IT users are, hey, I just don't know who's my application getting permissions from, who is it replicating to, who is it talking to, anything along those lines, because, they're gone, the days are gone, where it was a single box, small business server, no connections. You put things in the cloud, they're going to talk to other servers in the cloud. They're going to extend connections back to on-premises for replication or anything along those lines. So that's what all these lines are the application connections talking to one another. So I actually can drill in here and I can actually see, basically giving me a network point of view into the application. So again, this is an Exchange application. If I drill into it, I can actually see all the ports, CPU, RAM, things along those lines. Where this is valuable when you extend to the cloud is you have to, internally in a rack, I'm not worried about port 7937 not talking from rack 1 to rack 2 or U1 to U2, things along those lines. But as soon as you start going to, hey, I've got things in Azure, I've got things in AWS, these ports aren't necessarily a given that they're open, or if everything's open, you've got a whole nother ball of wax on your hands that you've got to go figure that you've just left everything wide open. You might as well give everybody admin passwords. But again, I can start seeing Exchange server talking to Exchange server. I can actually see I have 0 or 100% packet loss on this port. So in this particular case, I'd probably start talking to my network person or security person saying, hey, is this port open? What is going on? I'm not able to pass data on this port, and I've got an Exchange replication issue. But again, this is really great when you start spanning to different cloud providers, things like that, because things that we take for granted of, hey, I've got VMware on premises, I need to spin up a new VM, here's an IP address. Well, I'm sure as heck know that it can talk to all services on all ports, anything right next to it. You start going to the cloud, things are starting to get a little micro-segmented, things along those lines. That's where this comes into play. Also, using SAM, what we've built out is this Azure hybrid storage. So we talked about, hey, this particular example we first showed was just an on-premises, Exchange server replicating. So we were like, hey, let's actually talk about an actual Exchange, a hybrid application. Here, I've got 4 servers. They're actually all in this particular case, we're actually using Azure. So these are actually all in Azure. Caching server, web server, actually 2 of each. Essentially, this is a SharePoint application. On premises, we kept our database. So we've got our SharePoint SQL servers all on premises. I can see in this particular view, again, I've got my on-premises nodes here. I've got my Azure nodes here. I can drill into this and see this a little bit more. And I can start seeing what their status is. So if I drill into this node by clicking it, I'm going to see natively, since it's a managed node, I'm going to see all the environmental things going on with it. I can see that, hey, guess what? This 47 milliseconds, this is from a web server to this Active Directory server. I know this Active Directory server is on premises, hence 47 milliseconds doesn't really freak me out. If it was rack 1 to rack 2, 47 milliseconds, I'd kind of be like, what's going on? But, you're talking East Coast to West Coast or, whatever my region choice is, I've got to allow for a little bit of buffer room. As Sasha pointed out earlier, we do also show the infrastructure. Obviously, it is a little bit less than what you would typically get with HP or Dell because some of this is obscure from us. So again, I can still see my server and I can actually get into the volumes on there. I can click into this. And now I'm actually looking at the performance of the C drive in my Azure environment. So again, I can actually, talk to Microsoft or talk to my IT department. Hey, are these IOPS what we expected? Is this disk transfer what we expected? Why is queue length high? Why is queue length low? So again, I'm actually now getting some insights into the performance so I can have conversations with Microsoft. Hey, I'm paying for this type of configuration. I'm not seeing this type of performance. Or, hey, maybe all these numbers are super good that I probably can scale back a little bit on my configuration type and still have adequate performance. Again, this is just looking at the C drive on that Azure server. If you wanted to see other aspects of that server, what we've done is enable cloud monitoring over here. So I come over here, hit into the cloud, and now I'm just going to look at the metrics from a cloud point of view from Azure's API, pulling in here of my read, write, CPU. Cloud providers natively don't give you RAM, so if you see a memory statistics in here, essentially that is, since SolarWinds is already managing it as a node, we've taken that memory data and brought it all the way up in the spots that it's missing. But again, this is all my cloud information for that particular node. If I know I've got other cloud nodes, I can come over here to the cloud tab, and this is where we organize and bring in together all our AWS and Azure cloud. So I can see all my providers here. You have the option to, when nodes are spun up, or I say nodes, when virtual machines or instances are spun up, they can auto be populated in here. You can even get an alert. So again, if you're monitoring your Azure account and somehow you get an alert that, boom, you had 500 machines just spin up, and you know it's not you, you can go in there and start going, what's going on? I would already start implementing security procedures if I saw some hokiness going on with my account. So again, these things are going to alert you, or, walk over to, IT and go, or dev, and what are you doing? You're spinning up VMs. You're not paying for this. I am. So this is a summary screen of all your machines. So again, this is going to give you that high level, what's my application doing? What is the infrastructure doing? Who's it talking to? Who is it talking to from a physical sense? I'm on this machine, this HP, this Dell, or who am I talking to from an operating system point of view? Tying that to application performance, we've got our database performance monitor. So again, our database performance analyzer, I can't believe I said that. So in here, I can actually come in and see all my instances and all my database, what's going on. So again, we have Azure monitoring. We can bring that in here. I can actually see I've got a managed instance. I've got anything along those lines. I can click in here. Again, this is where I've seen this. I get this lovely video. Boom. Now I'm in here, and now I'm actually starting to see my statements across anomalies. And this will look identical if your SQL server is on premises, if it's virtualized, or if it's hosted in Azure. So again, or run by Azure, or managed instance. So again, we don't care where it's at. We're going to pull the same data for you. So again, I can come in here and start seeing, okay, hey, here's my wait time. Here are, let's see. Ironically enough, November 30th, so whatever, 2 weeks ago, if you look at it, the actual wait time was rather low relative to other days, but I actually hit the critical spot for anomaly detection. So drilling into the 30th, I can open it up, and of course I can actually see this looks, hey, this wait time here was actually normal, didn't generate anything. This wait time here was high, and it was abnormal. So again, I can start drilling in here. You can alert off of here, anything along those lines. This wait time was actually working better than expected. It probably should have been up in here in the seconds. So again, this is great that it's going to learn that time of day, day of week, that type of stuff. And I can drill in here and start actually getting into and seeing what is the actual statement and drilling into there and seeing, okay, hey, why am I running XYZ report? Why am I querying that? Again, obviously, some things are going to be high at certain points. Obviously, Super Bowl Sunday, Pizza Hut's going to have a lot of orders transfer, so they would see this a little bit differently on a Super Bowl Sunday than the Saturday beforehand. But this really is powerful, and it integrates with the server product, again, so you can actually start seeing all this managed together, and you can go, hey, I want to know how my application is performing. I need to know if it's the front end or the back end. So if I came over here and went to my maps, and I come over here and I go to my SQL server, again, I will start seeing these performance metrics start being populated inside of here. So if I actually go over to, oops, I actually clicked the wrong button. Go figure. Scroll down. There we go. SQL Server. Here we go. Boom. Now I can actually start seeing what's going on the SQL Server, and it seamlessly ties together. So again, I can see, hey, is it a wait time? Is it latency? Is it CPU? Is it a query? Anything along those lines, and go, hey, I'm presenting an application regardless of where it's at. I need to know what queries are going on, what infrastructure it's connected to. Is it hybrid? Is it cloud? Again, this is an actual physical box, so I can actually see all the way down the stack. But again, I'm actually now starting to get those SQL query statements pulled into the platform. And again, you can set your alerts, you can set your thresholds, because obviously we don't want any system for you to have that you go in there and everything's hard-coded and you get alert fatigue. I've been an administrator before. I know what it's like to get emails at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. or on Christmas or 2 a.m. And 10 a.m. is not, that's actually very reasonable. But 2 a.m., Christmas morning, Thanksgiving morning, I've gotten those emails that something's acting funky and go to there and find out everything's actually running okay. So with that said, I think we are going to start cutting back to, we had a couple more poll questions.
We do, yes, sir. So I'm going to pop up the next poll question on the screen, and it's a simple yes or no question for the most part. It says, would you like pricing information on Database Performance Analyzer? And we do have some questions rolling in from the audience. Sasha, you want to go ahead and start some Q&A with me while we leave up this poll question in the next?
We can certainly do that.
Okay, awesome. Let's see. First question that came in, Angie is asking about multiple consoles. Basically, she said digital transformation journeys typically require companies and IT pros to invest in multiple management consoles to maintain security across the hybrid cloud. What is SolarWinds' approach to this?
Great question. Well, in fact, so Jared showed just two of our products, SAM and DPA. But SAM, I mentioned the products we can available to deploy onto the Azure Marketplace. All of those are part of what we call the Orion platform. And so those are really designed to integrate into that same UI or user experience that Jared was demonstrating through SAM. So one of the things to touch on there, in fact, we could probably show it, is when we go through the poll questions, is that through the menu, you can actually go to different views, and the data behind those views is all built up based upon the products that you need to install, and the capabilities you really need for your environment. So, for example, we have a change monitoring product called Server Configuration Monitor. That offers change detection and change monitoring, and will help identify who made what change, when that change was made. And those changes can be rolled into a view that we call PerfStack, which allows you to pull different metrics from different products and tools into a unified view for things like troubleshooting. So, for example, yet another of our products, Web Performance Monitor, can help identify and monitor using synthetic transactions a website. You get all that information from within that console, and then if something else is out there with regards to so let's say a website is down, you can look at other characteristics and metrics from other systems throughout the IT stack to identify if, is it due to a database issue? Is it due to a change in a configuration file? Is it due to the fact that it's sitting on a Windows server that's underpowered? And so on and so forth. It's all about providing all that information in a unified view. So that's really our approach. We do have some other products out in the mix, but our long-term vision is really to help with increased integration out of the box, rather than, again, our customers and folks having to push that out across different systems.
Yeah, I mean, as Sasha was saying with pulling it all in is, most people that we have talked to, when they start going to cloud, it is from the advent of already being virtualized in some capacity. So, inside of that Orion console, inside of SAM, in particular with the addition of vMan, you can actually see I've got VMware here, here's what's going on. I hit another tab, I've got Hyper-V, here's what's going on. Again, now I can go to cloud, I can look at AWS, I can look at Azure, I can look at the physical boxes. again, obviously you can customize your dashboard. You can pull that all into one screen, or as Sasha said, we've got the per stack feature where you can stack these performance metrics across everything, showing before and after, 2 workloads running at the same time. We really try to mitigate you having to get into another product. I mean, honestly, I feel if we can keep you in our product for 90% of the things you need to do, then we've done a pretty good job. Obviously, sometimes the vendor solutions have XYZ toggle or some random feature that is not in our product, but I feel honestly that you can spend 90% of your time in our product, or you can do 90% of your job in our product across vendors and platforms.
Excellent, excellent. I like that. I like that approach. Let's see, another question here. They say that GCP has an inherent monitoring solution. Does Azure integrate, or does Azure offer anything that's similar, or do you recommend a SolarWinds solution instead?
Well, no,
would I not recommend a SolarWinds solution?
Yeah. No, putting the sales hat aside, I mean, I've used Azure quite a bit, and a little bit of GCP and AWS as well. Look, they all have their monitoring tools, some of which you actually have to pay for, depending on what you're looking at. But the challenge, I mean, they provide monitoring capabilities. Looking at Azure, AWS, and GCP, you can certainly navigate through the console. But in many cases, it's only kind of a component level. So you're looking at CPU performance, or you're looking at memory. You're not necessarily looking at other factors in that same view to really understand and get that correlation view. In fact, we should just switch over to, if I switch over back into the demo, we can show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. So we're back in, this is our view here, but for example, we can look at things like performance analysis, and this is our perf stack. But what you can kind of see here is that you can look at this for different services. You're actually pulling different metrics. So in this case, I'm looking at a number of CPUs. Depending on, I get to this view from, I can look at it from an application basis, or I may be looking at it from an infrastructure basis, or maybe a little bit of both. But the fact is that you can drag and drop different metrics into this view to be able to see over a period of time and look for visual correlations yourself. In fact, it's probably not the best one to show a particular fault analysis, but it at least gives you that view. But again, putting it all into a central view. Oh yeah, there we go, hybrid cloud.
Yeah, I mean, so here's, as Sasha alluded to, is you're going to be able to get those metrics onesie twosies in your provider, or even if you're able to start aggregating them together, we're able to show you, okay, I've now shown you quote unquote the infrastructure layer from your cloud provider, but I actually can show you what's going on with this service, this process, this task, this CPU RAM, this database. So again, we're trying to give you that in context to what your end user is experiencing. Again, 90% CPU isn't necessarily a bad thing for a cloud resource that is running well. So again, that is where we're trying to give you the flexibility of aggregating all your data in here so that you as the IT practitioner can look at it, make a decision, see what's not working correctly, and go about fixing something. We don't want you to have to check 500 screens and create dashboards and look at metric 1, write it on a notepad, look at metric 2, write it on a notepad, things along those lines.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks like our network's having some fun on this end. But I mentioned about the changes. You can kind of see here that, for example, we've talked about outages, so availability of a Microsoft IIS website. You can kind of see all those metrics associated with it. And you notice it went down because it went to red, but you notice there's a change right before it went down and a change right before it went back up again. So that's indicative to me that it's probably a change-related issue, but again, I can drill into from this console in order to be able to get that data out. But again, it's the fact that, as I said, you can see all the different views from the network, through storage, through the application, through to web performance that you can select from and pull into these dashboards and views, and also our Orion Maps capabilities as well.
Awesome, awesome. All right, got a lot more questions and feedback coming in here. While we do some more Q&A, I'm just going to pop up this next poll question. and that says, would you like pricing information on server and application monitor? I'll just leave that up for a few minutes. So next question, actually, there's a couple bits of feedback here. Jack said, great demo. Noreen said, we love SolarWinds. Great to hear that. Sean is asking, does this do email alerts for high severity issues?
So first of all, thanks for all the kudos, definitely to Jared on the demo. Yes, we have, as part of the Orion platform and in our other products as well, if a certain threshold is passed, then we have the ability to generate an alert and send notification, whether it's through email or through some other mechanism out to an end recipient.
Yeah, the part of the flexibility with the Orion platform is that I don't want to say it's limitless on what you can do, but it's as close to legally approved as I can get to that term. You can sit there and put different thresholds in there. One of the other things that's nice is that you can put a little auto remediation script in there. Hey, if this happens, I want you to create a ticket in Orion. I want you to go execute this file. I want you to reboot this. I want you to stop and start that. If that does not fix the issue, now send me an email. Again, having those emails come up at 2 in the morning, well, if it's a stop and restart of a service, if it's just recycle back, I'm going to automate that. I'm going to have that go do that, so I don't get that email at 2 or 3 in the morning. I can come in the morning, I can see that there was a ticket and alert created in Orion and go investigate and say, oh, that's just what it does, that's normal, or hey, that was abnormal, and dig into it more. But you can totally set your how you get alerted and when you get alerted is completely flexible and up to you.
Yeah. Very nice, very nice. All right. Another question here, they're asking, what's the scope of log monitoring with SolarWinds and Azure?
Actually, just a couple of quick things, because I know we're coming to the top of the hour and we'll get right back to that question. Are we out of the poll at the moment?
We can exit the poll. Yeah, let me close the poll and go ahead.
So just really quickly, if you are an existing or if you're exploring SolarWinds, we just want to highlight the fact that we've got many streams of support to make sure that you're successful with our software. So we talked about the THWACK community earlier on, over 180,000 members today. We got okay, I should be sharing my screen. Thanks for that, Colby. We've got online and phone-based support, a number of different portals for our customers, as well as our community, as well as a whole amount of training online, both free and in person as well. Just one other thing that I'm going to leave it on while we go through the questions is, hey, if you want to try out any of the products, not just SAM or DPA, certainly we'd love you to try it out. You can go to our website. You can also go to the Azure portal to play around with those today. Learn more about our solutions, as well as play around with any of the other products that we've kind of hinted to, or anything that we at SolarWinds have available. And there's that online demo link at the bottom, so that you can actually start playing with the demo data in a sandbox at your own leisure without anyone hassling you while you're actually in there. So anyway, just want to point those things out. So thanks.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Let's go back to the question. I think you mentioned it.
Great resources on the screen there. I also want to point out to the audience, because I forgot to do it earlier, that the SolarWinds product deployment guide is also available as a handout there in your audience console. You can just click on and download that PDF as well. Did you have some more feedback on that question?
Sorry, let's repeat the question for those who've forgotten which one we were talking about.
Yeah, the question was, what's the scope of log monitoring with SolarWinds and Azure?
No, that's a good one. So we have the ability to grab logs and events from a number of different sources, whether it be through SNMP, whether it be through WMI, whether it's an agent sitting on the box itself gathering from a Windows event log, or from Linux. I mean, most Linux comes through syslog anyway. But once that's in we collect all that information from your environment. We have different what we call polling engines that you can deploy in order to be able to pull from different regions and different locations, as well as we have some API gathering capabilities across our different products to pull in from API-based or where services or products have an API. Once it's in the product, we have a couple of solutions available, but one of our key ones is one called Log Analyzer, which allows you to chart, view, filter, and search through the volumes of log information as part of just investigation or problem investigation to get really to the answer that you're looking for.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
that will help on that front. Just a quick point. I think that we need to go back to probably rename the deployment guide. It's not a traditional deployment guide of how to deploy things. It's actually a bit more marketing format to tell you what all the different products are available and how they can be deployed out into your environment. So it actually covered a couple of slides that we went through. But don't worry, you're downloading more informative, not a how to deploy the product. We'll help you with that with some separate documentation if and when you actually try out the products.
Okay, very nice. Let's see, another question here is about the architecture or the deployment of the SolarWinds Azure monitoring tool. Did you say they deploy it in Azure from the marketplace, or is it a SaaS, or is it deployed on premises? Like, what's the model there?
So we pick one and we probably can support it. No, the monitoring of Azure can be from anywhere. You can have a solution physically deployed on premises and pull your Azure VMs in there. You can have a virtual machine on premises and monitor it. So the ability to monitor Azure is geolocation. It doesn't matter where it is, how it's built, we can monitor it. What we now have the ability to, as Sasha alluded to, is we are Azure certified that you can actually deploy Orion through the marketplace. We've had numerous customers deploying Orion on virtual machines manually, and we've been helping them along that journey. But now we, partnered with Microsoft and got Microsoft certified or Azure certified to actually be in the marketplace. So as opposed to going through a typical SolarWinds install, you would actually go through the Azure experience of installing SAM or NPM and then have it deployed. But again, to monitor Azure or AWS, it doesn't matter where you are, what configuration, physical or virtual, or a little bit of both, we can monitor it.
Awesome. Well, that sounds easy. And then another question here, they're asking about the licensing model for Azure monitoring. Is it per VM, or how does that work?
So to monitor Azure VMs does not consume any licensing. To pull back the basic metrics we get from the API does not consume any of your licensing. Again, that's going to be your CPU, so your compute, your IOPS, and your network connection, and kind of the region information. Once you start putting in operating system, applications, that will start consuming some SAM licensing to say, hey, this is a SharePoint server, this is my printing server, my accounting server, whatever it is. But to do the basic monitoring will not consume any. Also, if you are putting your machine from a licensing perspective, just to cover both angles, it is a bring your own license. So as you deploy to Azure, you do get your standard 30-day trial. But at that point, since it's not a SaaS model, you would basically acquire a license from SolarWinds, put the key in there, and then it'll say, hey, you can monitor, 15 nodes, 20 nodes, 30 nodes, anything, virtual machines, anything along that.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Well, that sounds easy. I like that. All right. Well, looks like we're running out of time. Before we go, I do want to award the Amazon $300 gift card to Scott Mapes from Minnesota. Congratulations, Scott Mapes from Minnesota. Again, if you're watching this on demand, the drawing has already occurred. Thank you for all the great feedback and comments, great questions coming in throughout the event, and so many great comments as well, Sasha and Jared, on the excellent demo. So thank you for that.
No, we appreciate everybody joining us today. Thanks for hosting, David. And then again, please do explore our products and try them for free today.
Absolutely. And I want to point out to everyone, I pasted a URL there in the audience chat box to try.solarwinds.com. You can just click on that. It's a hyperlink, and it'll take you to the SolarWinds demo portal there, where you can try the solution that you saw here on the event today. Again, visit solarwinds.com for more information, and have a great day. We'll see you next time.